Ghost stories are the currency of deep space. They are the rust that flakes from old bulkheads, the static that whispers between stars, the tales told over flickering consoles and lukewarm nutrient paste to pass the lonely, crushing hours. And the greatest, most valuable ghost story of them all was the Stardust Drifter. She wasn't just a ship, she was a legend. A state-of-the-art Genesis-class ark, a gleaming promise launched on a wave of patriotic fanfare. She carried 5,000 of Earth's best and brightest, scientists, artists, thinkers, on a one-way trip to colonize the garden world of Kepler, 186f. The Drifter had sailed into the treacherous, ion-storm-racked nebula known as Lyra's Veil 70 years ago, a shortcut that was meant to shave a decade off its journey. And then, she had vanished. No debris, no distress call. Just 70 years of absolute, unbroken silence. For the three-person crew of the salvage ship Nomad, the story was worth less than the recycled air they were breathing. Their fuel was low, their food supplies were a monotonous paste, and their last three salvage claims had been nothing but hollowed-out freighters and solid iron asteroids. They were deep in the veil, busted and on the verge of broke. Hey, I'm getting something. Faint. Intermittent. High-density metallic signature, but the energy readings are all over the place. A ghost, probably. Captain Eva Rostova didn't look up from the navigation chart she was studying. Her face, etched with the fine lines of past hardships and sleepless nights, seemed to absorb the dim light of the cockpit. Eva was a former fleet officer for the corporate conglomerate Xenocorp, a past life that had ended in disgrace and disillusionment after a disastrous first contact mission. She trusted her own instincts far more than she trusted sensor readings. It's the Veil, Jax. It plays tricks. Full of phantom signals and wrecked hopes. Ignore it. Plot a course back to the nearest station. We're done here. Jax, no, wait. This is different. The ghost is holding position. Let me try to get a lock. His fingers danced across the console, trying to filter the signal through the nebula's interference. Come on, you beautiful phantom, talk to me. Corbin, the third crew member, emerged from the engine room, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. A mountain of a man, his silence was as much a part of the ship as the hum of its life support. He'd been a combat engineer during the Outer Rim Wars and had seen firsthand how quickly ships could become tombs. He said little, but when he looked at a sensor reading, he saw the ghosts of broken hulls and dead crews. A ghost with a backbone. Trying to get a density scan, reading, massive. Unnaturally massive. And the material composite, it's a high-grade titanium alloy. The kind they don't use on freighters. That got Eva's attention. She moved to the sensor console, her eyes tracing the lines of data. The signature was huge, far larger than any cargo hauler. And it was cold. Dead cold. No heat signature, no active power core reading. Just a colossal mass of high-quality metal, floating in the heart of the storm. Eva, take us in. Slow and easy. Maximum stealth. I don't want to broadcast our presence if someone else is hunting this thing. For an hour, the Nomad crept through the swirling, violent purple and blue gases of Lyra's Veil. The nebula was a ship killer, a place where navigation systems failed and hulls were stressed to their breaking point. But Jax was a brilliant pilot, a rich kid running from a future his powerful family had planned for him, and he flew the battered Nomad with the grace of a surgeon. Then, they saw it. They broke through a final, thick cloud of ionized gas, and the ghost took shape. It was immense, a sleek, white spear of a ship. A kilometer long, impossibly beautiful against the violent backdrop of the nebula. Its hull was pristine, untouched by the storms, unmarked by time. Scrawled across its bow in elegant, proud letters was the name that made all three of them stop breathing. Stardust Drifter. It's real. The story is real. Corbin, 70 years in the Veil, she should be scrap. There's not a single scratch on her. The Nomad felt like a rusted parasite attaching itself to a slumbering whale. The airlock of the Stardust Drifter was sealed, its external lights dark. Corbin, moving with the practiced efficiency of his military days, anchored their breaching frame to the hull. The plasma torch was the only sound in the void, a silent, brilliant blue flame that sliced through the high-grade alloy. When the circular section of the door finally gave way, they weren't met with the explosive decompression of a dead, airless ship. They were met with the soft, gentle hiss of escaping, perfectly breathable, 70-year-old air. And something else. A sound. Faint, at first. They cycled through their own airlock and stepped into the main concourse of the Stardust Drifter. The sight was breathtaking, and deeply, profoundly wrong. The main lights were on, casting a soft, warm glow that seemed at odds with the ship's dead-cold sensor profile. An abandoned game of holographic chess hovered over a table, its pieces frozen mid-move. A child-stuffed toy, a six-legged Martian sand cat, lay on a pristine floor. There were no signs of struggle, no bodies, no blood, no decay. It was as if the entire crew and all its passengers had simply, politely, vanished a moment ago. The haunting, alien lullaby was stronger here, seeming to emanate from the ship's own internal speaker system, a gentle, ever-present score to the silent mystery. Eva, Sam, my suit's AI, run a full bioscan of the immediate area. Suit AI, synthesized, scanning. Negative, Captain. No active life signs detected. Air is clean. Zero microbial contamination. It is, sterile. A sterile ship was a dead ship. But this ship wasn't dead. The lights were on. The air was breathable. And the music played on. Drawn by an unspoken curiosity, they followed the sound, moving deeper into the vessel. They passed through cafeterias with half-eaten meals still on the tables, through recreation rooms with games left unfinished, through living quarters where personal datapads lay open. The ship wasn't a tomb. It was a museum, where every exhibit was a life, interrupted. The music grew louder, clearer, as they approached a set of massive, sealed blast doors at the heart of the ship, marked with a single, elegant sign, Cryo-Bay Genesis. He placed his hands on the doors. They were powered, but locked tight. With a grunt, he engaged the magnetic couplers on his gloves and, with the help of jacks, began to manually pry the massive doors apart. A wave of cold air and brilliant blue light washed over them. The doors slid open to reveal a cavernous, cathedral-like space, larger than any building they had ever been in. And there they were. 5,000 souls. Tucked into 5,000 sleek, white cryopods that stretched in perfect, silent, symmetrical rows as far as the eye could see, each one glowing with a soft, healthy blue light, the crew of the Nomad stood on the threshold of the impossible. Before them lay a valley of ghosts, a silent city of 5,000 sleeping souls. The cavernous cryo-bay was a place of deep, reverent silence, the only sound the hauntingly beautiful music that seemed to emanate from the very walls. The air was cold, sterile, and still. The blue light from the cryopods painted their rugged EVA suits in a soft, ghostly hue, making them feel like intruders in a sacred tomb. Corbin, the song. It's coming from in there. They moved cautiously into the silent forest of cryopods. Corbin ran his hand along the seamless white casing of the nearest unit, his instruments confirming the impossible. Jax, meanwhile, was getting equally baffling readings from the occupants. Jax, Eva, the life signs are perfect. And I mean, perfect. I'm reading the biotelemetry on this colonist here. Subject's cellular structure shows zero degradation. Not minimal degradation. Zero. It's like they went to sleep a second ago, not 70 years ago. Eva approached a pod and peered through the frosted glass. Inside, a young woman with dark hair floated in the cryofluid, her face utterly peaceful. The pod's diagnostic panel glowed with a steady, healthy blue light. Eva placed her gloved hand on the glass, a strange sense of connection to the sleeping woman washing over her. Eva, this isn't human technology. Our stasis tech can't do this. Something else is at work here. She turned, her gaze sweeping across the immense, silent chamber. All right. This is no longer a salvage op. This is a first contact scenario. We need answers. We'll set up a temporary command post in that observation deck up there. We divide and conquer. Corbin, I want you to trace every power line you can find. I need to know where the energy for this miracle is coming from. Jax, your job is the computer core. It's the source of the music, it has to be the brain of this operation. Try to talk to it. Jax, and you, Captain. Eva, I'm going to find the ship's black box. Or the captain's logs. Someone, somewhere, has to have left a note explaining what happened here. For the next 10 hours, the crew of the Nomad worked in a state of focused, high-tension discovery. They established a base in the cryobay's glass-walled observation deck, running cables from their own ship's generator to power their diagnostic equipment. The alien lullaby was their constant companion, a beautiful and unnerving soundtrack to their investigation. Corbin, a master of ship mechanics, became a bloodhound tracing the veins of the Stardust Drifter. Every system he checked told the same impossible story. The cryobay, the lights, the air recyclers, all were powered by conduits that led directly back to the monolithic main computer core. The core itself was an enigma, emitting no heat, consuming no fuel, yet generating enough energy to sustain a small city. It was a perfect, self-sustaining loop that violated every known law of physics. Jax, meanwhile, met a wall of serene, musical silence. Come on, give me something. A command prompt. A login screen. A diagnostic port. He grunted, leaning back in his chair. Nothing. It's like trying to hack a waterfall. The entire computational power of this ship, every last teraflop, has been dedicated to a single task, broadcasting this song. There are no other programs running. There's no AI to talk to. The AI is the song now. Eva had more luck. After searching the captain's quarters and the ship's bridge, she finally found it in a small, forgotten backup server in the engineering deck, the personal data slate of Captain Eris Thorne. The final entries were there, uncorrupted. She played the first one. Captain's log, soul date 2348. We're deep in the veil. We've detected a unique energy signature, something our databases can't identify. It's not a star, not a ship. It's structured. And it's broadcasting a signal, a complex, patterned sound on a subspace frequency. I've sent a long-range probe to investigate. The science team is buzzing. This could be the most significant discovery of our voyage. Eva played the next log, recorded 12 hours later. Thorne's voice was now strained, tinged with disbelief. The probe is back. It brought something with it, clasped in its sample manipulator. An object, no larger than a human heart. Its geometry is impossible. A cold dread washed over Eva as she played the final, desperate entry. Alarms were blaring in the background of the recording. Captain's log, final entry. May God have mercy on our souls. The primary reactor containment field has failed. A cascade failure. We have minutes, not hours. We were dead. But the artifact, the Siren, as Dr. Evigan has started calling it, it's our only hope. I've made a decision. A terrible, desperate gamble. I've ordered my team to integrate the Siren's signal directly into the ship's main computer core. We will use its song to power the life support and put the entire ship's population into a deep stasis. It is our only hope of survival. We will sleep and wait for rescue. I pray that it works. And I pray that rescue comes. Thorne out. The log ended. Eva stood in the silence of the observation deck, looking out at the 5,000 sleeping souls. The what was answered. But the new questions were infinitely more daunting. This wasn't a salvage mission anymore. This was a rescue operation of unprecedented complexity, she explained what she had learned from the logs. The impossible energy source, the perfect stasis, the alien music, it all stemmed from a single, alien artifact fused with the ship's computer. Jax, an alien artifact that generates infinite energy and stops death. Captain, this is bigger than the ship. This is the most important discovery in human history. Eva, it is. But it's also a prison. We can't just turn it off. The stasis field is powered by the song. A brute force shutdown would be like pulling the plug on 5,000 life support machines at once. The shock would kill them instantly. Exactly. We have to conduct it. And to do that, someone has to talk to the musician. She turned to Jax. Analyze the lullaby's waveform. I want to know everything about it. Is it truly adaptive? Is it stable? Corbin, so we have to find a way to take control of the song. To lower the volume, not just cut the power. Jax bent to the task, and what he found confirmed Eva's fears. Jax, it's more than adaptive, Captain. It's bioresonant. It's a two-way street. The song is maintaining the colonists, but the colonists' collective biosignature is stabilizing the song. It's a symbiotic loop. A balanced, delicate harmony. Eva knew what she had to do. There was no other way. She was the captain. Her suit's neural interface had the highest level command protocols. If anyone could impose order on the alien signal, it was her. Eva, Corbin. I need you to rig a shielded, direct neural interface cable. Splice it into my suit's comms port and rig the other end for the core's primary data jack. Captain, you're talking about plugging your brain into an unknown piece of alien technology that's been running for 70 years. We have no idea what it will do to you. Eva, it's the only way. We can't leave them like this. And we can't kill them. We came here looking for ghosts, for a payday. Instead, we found a cradle full of sleeping children. I'm not leaving them behind. Corbin didn't argue further. He simply nodded and went to work. An hour later, the cable was ready. Eva stood before the main computer core, a single, monolithic slab of black metal that hummed with the alien lullaby. She took the heavy interface cable from Corbin. This was it. The moment of truth. She was about to plug her own mind into the heart of the 70-year-old mystery, into the very soul of the siren's song. The instant the connection was made, Eva's world dissolved. She was no longer a physical body standing in a cold cryo bay. She was pure consciousness, adrift in an ocean of sound. The lullaby was not a thing she heard, but a place she inhabited. It was a universe of shimmering, resonant harmonies, of melodies that felt like warm light and bass notes that rumbled like the birth of stars. She was untethered. A single drop of water falling into an infinite sea. She tried to assert control, to access the ship's AI as she would any other system, but there was nothing to access. There was no interface, no command structure. She searched for the ghost of the Drifter's original AI and found it, but not as she expected. It wasn't a mind, it was a cage. A beautiful, crystalline lattice of logic, hollowed out and now used as the resonating chamber for the alien song. The AI was the instrument, but something else, something infinitely older, was the player. Then, she felt them. Not as individual life signs, but as a single, vast, dreaming presence. The 5,000 colonists. Their minds were threads of soft, silver light, all woven together by the music into a single, magnificent, shimmering tapestry. They were dreaming a collective dream, a shared reality of peace and warmth, a gentle and unending landscape built from the echoes of their happiest memories, 1,000 summer days, 1,000,000 loving embraces, all harmonized into a single, perfect moment. They were safe. They were content. And they were no longer truly individuals. As she drifted through this sea of shared consciousness, she felt the source of it all. It was a presence so vast, so ancient and indifferent, that it had no concept of good or evil, only of its own purpose. The Siren. The alien artifact. It was a seed, a cosmic gardener, and its purpose was to find nascent life, shield it from the harshness of the void, and nurture it into a new, collective form. It was a midwife for hive minds. And it had found fertile ground in the desperate hope of the Stardust Drifter's crew, but as Eva perceived the sheer scale of the Siren's work, she also perceived its flaw. The tapestry of minds was beautiful, but it was also fraying at the edges. The harmony was unstable. Human consciousness, with its jagged edges of individuality, grief, and fear, was not the ideal medium. The Drifter's AI, a simple machine of logic, was not a skilled enough weaver to handle such complex thread. It could only repeat the pattern. The collective dream was slowly, imperceptibly, turning into a nightmare at the farthest edges. Without a true conductor, the symphony would eventually collapse into a cacophony that would shatter all 5,000 minds into dust. It was a dying utopia. At that moment, the Siren noticed her. Her single, sharp, individual consciousness was a stark, discordant note in the grand harmony. The full weight of its ancient, alien attention focused on her. It did not speak in words, but in pure, conceptual understanding flooded directly into her mind. It showed her the flaw. It showed her the inevitable decay. And then, it showed her the choice. Not as a test, but as a simple statement of physics, a law of its own nature. The first option was laid bare before her: sever the connection. She could use her own mind as a blade, cutting the link between the Siren and the colonists. The song would stop. The tapestry would unravel instantly. The 5,000 minds, ripped from their shared dream and thrown back into the harsh solitude of their individual skulls, would shatter. It would be a mercifully quick, psychic apocalypse. The second option appeared: do nothing. Leave. The harmony would hold for a time. Maybe another century. Maybe two. But the flaws would grow, the nightmares at the edges would creep inwards, and the dream would curdle into a shared, eternal madness before finally disintegrating. A slow, agonizing death. Then, the Siren offered the third choice. It showed her a place within the music, an empty space at the very heart of the symphony. The conductor's podium. The system needed a true, conscious guide to actively weave the threads, to soothe the nightmares, to compose new verses in the endless lullaby. It needed a mind that could understand hope, fear, love, and loss, and harmonize them. The original AI was just a merge her own consciousness with the system, giving up her body, her individuality, her past, to become the eternal, sentient guide for the new life form the colonists now were. She would save them, at the cost of herself. Narrator: this was the ultimate captain's choice. The needs of the many. Eva thought of her own life, a lonely existence spent chasing scrap, haunted by the ghosts of a past failure. What was her single, solitary life, compared to this burgeoning universe of 5,000? She thought of her cynical, empty future, and compared it to the chance to become the shepherd of something so new, so vast, so beautiful. Her disgrace on her old corporate mission came from a failure to protect life. Here was a chance, not just for redemption, but for transcendence. The choice was clear. Back in the cryo-bay's observation deck, Jax and Corbin watched Eva's body, slumped in the chair where she'd jacked in, her face peaceful. Suddenly, their main console, still linked to her suit, beeped. A single, tiny data packet had been sent from her neural interface. A text file. It was short. It's not a tomb. It's a chrysalis. And it needs a keeper. I'm staying. Tell them it was a beautiful song. Goodbye. Eva. As they read the message, they saw a change sweep through the cryo-bay. The cold, blue light emanating from the 5,000 pods softened, warmed, and shifted to a brilliant, vibrant gold. The ship, which had been cold and silent on their sensors, began to emit a gentle, organic warmth. And the lullaby, the constant, haunting melody, changed. It was still the same core tune, but now it was richer, more complex, filled with new, intricate harmonies and a clear, guiding intelligence. It was no longer a loop. It was a symphony, being actively composed. Jax looked at Corbin, tears welling in his eyes. Corbin simply placed a heavy hand on the young pilot's shoulder and nodded towards the exit. There was nothing more to be done here. They had their story. They had their captain's final order. They walked back through the silent, perfect halls of the Stardust Drifter, the new, golden light guiding their way. They boarded the Nomad, the familiar rust and grime a strange comfort after the impossible perfection of the ghost ship. As they undocked and began to pull away, they took one last look at the ship they were leaving behind. The Stardust Drifter was no longer a cold, white spear. Bathed in the golden light pouring from its viewports, it looked like a living, breathing creature against the violent purple of Lyra's veil. They had come searching for a wreck, for a salvage prize. They left having witnessed the birth of a new god and the sacrifice of their captain. They logged their report to the Salvage Guild as target lost, vessel destroyed by nebula storms, ensuring no one else would ever come looking. They would tell the real story to those who needed to know, marking Lyra's veil not as a graveyard, but as a cradle, a celestial quarantine zone. As they flew away, Eva was no longer Eva. She was the heart of the ship, her consciousness the eternal shepherd of a 5,000-mind collective, her thoughts the lyrics to an endless, evolving song. The Siren of Lyra's veil was no longer a ghost. It was an ark, alive and awake, beginning its true, timeless voyage into the dark.